I've been using this solder station for the last year on my workbench for building charge cases. It's used every day on probably 80% of the day, and I really work it pretty hard. I solder my large connectors at about 430 to 435 C, and then my smaller connectors I'm probably about 340, 350 C. Almost every connection that we do does have heat shrink on it inside of a charging case just for safety reasons. It's worked flawless. It has never missed a lick. One of the options that I really liked about this soldering station is the built-in heat gun. Love it. It's quiet. I can actually be talking to somebody on the phone, turn this on, and nobody will ever know. The first thing I'm going to tell you is the first thing that I missed. The little tiny sticker on the top says remove shipping bolts. There are some transport bolts in the bottom of this. It's like the old DVD players, the old CD players, where you have to pull out that one red bolt. Well, this has multiple bolts on the bottom, and what it does is there is an air pump inside here that blows the air through. If you don't turn them on, this thing makes a whole lot of unwanted noise. Once you remove those, it's whisper quiet. So this is the large screw in the bottom of the unit. If you look, these are the rubber tabs that the pump float on. They're anti-vibration pads. You take that out, and now the pump inside of it is free to move, and the rubber pads absorb the vibration so you don't hear that loud rumble. It comes with an optional bracket that I have mounted on the side of mine, and I actually have my heat gun facing forward so I can flick the switch, do my heat shrink, turn it off, and I actually never touch the wand. The reason why we chose to bring this solder station to our customers is the accessories that it comes with, the ease of use. Yeah, unfortunately, it does read in Celsius, but you just learn the numbers. Whether it's Fahrenheit or Celsius, you're going to learn the numbers that you like to solder different size connectors in. There is also the wonderful world of the internet. You can get on there and do Celsius to Fahrenheit conversions. If you know your temperature that you like in Fahrenheit, just convert it to Celsius. Like I said, my large connectors, I'm about 430, 435 C. And my smaller connectors, I'm in the 300 range, and then all the way a little bit less than that. With those heat ranges, I can do anything I want to. Now, some people say I'd rather have one in Fahrenheit. Well, if you bought this same unit with one that's in Fahrenheit, it's in the $200 range. This is very low $100 range. The accessories that it comes with it is the soldering wand holder with the sponge that I just flung across the table. It has changeable tips, so you can put replaceable tips on it, change the size of your tips. It actually comes with 6 tips, all the way from a large blade all the way down to a really small fine point for getting into the fine locations. That being said, the the heat gun actually comes with rework tips also. If you're trying to release some epoxy, or you're trying to get some resin off of a board to resolder something, you can actually go all the way from a small, medium, large, and extra large, or I just normally don't even have mine in. Both of these are heated by a ceramic tip element. You know ceramic's going to last a lot longer than anything else. So after you remove the screws from the bottom of the unit, you flip it back over. Then you're going to take the plug that comes with the soldering iron, and you're going to plug it in. It does have an alignment notch on it, and just screw it fairly tight. I did not wrench mine down. I just got mine to where my fingers just start to slide on it. And then you use your tip holder, put your tip in. Now how you're going to turn on the soldering side is you'll hit this switch, and you'll put your heat where you want it. Mine's normally over here. That's where I'm doing my big connectors, about here for my smaller connectors. Now for the heat gun, which is the wand, this right here gives you your airflow. This maxes out your airflow. This turns your airflow down to just a trickle. So you'll move your air to the preference that you want, and then here's your heat setting. The hotter it gets, the more it will melt something really fast. You turn that thing up, turn that up, You put heat shrink in front of it, you might as well say goodbye to that heat shrink. So I normally have my air for my heat shrink about halfway, and the heat a little more than halfway for our larger heat shrink. So now we're going to turn the unit on. When you turn the soldering side on, it'll tell you the temperature that you're set to. As you turn it up or down, it's going to tell you the set to temperature. After you let go, it's still going to show you the temperature that's going to go to, and then all of a sudden it'll show you the temperature as it's counting up. The red flashing light over here tells you that the heater is activated. So we've selected the tip that we like, and that's the one that I use most of the time for some of the fine soldering in the case. When we get into the big EC5 and Castle connectors, I go to the bigger tip to put a lot more heat in there. So now that we've got the temperature set to what we want, we go ahead and do our soldering. After we do our soldering, we make our connections, then we're going to have to heat shrink it. So what we do is we take the wire, we put it on, we figure our heat shrink, and then you watch the ceramic tip heat up, and then you'll see how fast it does the heat shrink. And once again, the microphone is a lapel microphone. I'm a foot away from the top of this, and you can't even hear the pump running. If I want the heat shrink to go faster, I can turn the temperature up. Once again, it's going to read the desired temperature, and then after it shows you that for a couple seconds, it's going to show you it actually climbing. This gives me more air and less air. Once again, because this is a ceramic tip, this is going to last you for a long time. When you turn the air pump off, don't panic that it's still running. Your ceramic tip is still hot, so what it's going to do is it's going to blow cool air through it until it gets to a safe temperature to turn off. If it turns off too fast, then the coils in the ceramic tip could expand too far and break. So as you watch the temperature dropping, turn the wrong one off. As you watch the temperature dropping, you'll see the unit shut off. And once again, I actually have my handle on mine facing forward, so when I'm doing my soldering, when I got a heat shrink, I just turn the pump on, I shrink it, I turn the pump right back off. It runs for a couple seconds while it's cooling off, and that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want one of these, visit us at www.rotarywingrc.com or www.rotarywingrc.com. Thank you very much and have a great day.